just turned to dust. What was it all about? Truck and dirt in, truck and dirt out. For months and years while hosing down ground zero. How strange. The weather report on that day spread no fear, fair to say. Hurricane Erin has been heading our way. Powerful stuff. How on earth we're upside down? Toasted vehicles on display. This report gets grayer day by day. You mean they're lying to us? Stand up for Dr. Judy Wood, 'cause she's a force for good. A scientist who knows that wars are bad. Stand up for Dr. Judy Wood. Wake up your neighborhood. Pretty soon there'll be less people feeling sad. You what? Like a fountain's upward spray, those two buildings went away. The pancake theory would have left more rubble. Come on, Sherlock, this report is iron off at the magnetometer graph. Good seismic readings lead to more trouble. It's worth a look at what happened on the...
Oh,
Up.
I'm going to have to disconnect them, okay? There you are. Daniel? There we go.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. And I have a special request after you connect them real quick, okay?
All right.
Hello, hello.
Hey, hey.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Dr. Judy there?
There she is.
Dr. Judy, Dr. Judy.
Hello.
Hi.
Is this headset?
This one works.
Okay.
That one works. Daniel, you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a special request to do an intro. Is there any way you can fade out the other music or and have me play music?
Okay, so you're just gonna play it on your end?
Yeah, could I do it?
Yeah. Just as soon as the.
I don't know if it's too difficult. What's easier, for me to do it or you to do it?
Well, it would be too late for me to do it. Yeah, you can do it. Just make sure to, after the last commercial plays, it'll be ready to go. Just play it. So
Yeah, just right at 00, right?
Yeah. As soon as the last commercial ends. Judy just got disconnected.
Okay, we have 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes. 3 minutes, 3 minutes. Okay.
Stand up for Dr. Judy Wood, 'cause she's a stand up for.
Okay, 2 minutes here. Well, we got 1 minute. Here we go. You ready?
And I can't get Judy back online. Oh, here we go.
I can stall. I'm long-winded.
No, she's back.
Dr. Judy, you there?
Yep.
All
Can you hear
right,
me?
perfect. Yes.
I got the little separate window now. I'm coming back on the other computer.
Okay. And there we go. We got 25 seconds here. Okay. I don't need that. I don't need this. I don't need that. There we go. Daniel, you hear that okay?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Topics. No taboo topics. No fear of doom. No fear of doom. We are American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
Stand up for Dr. Judy Wood, 'cause she's a force for good. A scientist who knows that wars are bad. Stand up for Dr. Judy Wood, wake up your neighborhood. Pretty soon there'll be less people feeling sad. She's got eyes that saw what nobody else could see, and a smile that looks as happy as can be. She figured out a piece of the greatest mystery. What she talks about is elementary. Check the evidence and you will see where all of this came from. There's a truth movement as blind as it could be. Just because you hear a bang doesn't mean that there's a bomb. Microwave an egg and listen carefully. I'm listening. How to aluminium burst. Slice the towers is absurd. Tell me where did all that steel and concrete go? It just turned to dust. What was it all about? Trucking dirt in, trucking dirt out. For months and years while hosing down ground zero. How strange. The weather report on that day spread no fear. Fair to say, Hurricane Erin has been heading our way. Powerful stuff. How on earth we're upside down? Toasted miracles on display.
Powerful stuff is absolutely right, ladies and gentlemen. And today is the second day of a two-day event. I'm joined by Dr. Judy Wood, who I'm going to be bringing on the line here. But let me do my standard introductions. This is the first episode of 296 episodes, whereby I did not start with the standard greeting that I give you each and every day. But let me go through my formalities here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pete Santilli Show. And like I said, this is the second of a two-day event with Dr. Judy Wood. And we are essentially going over the cover-up of 9/11 and covering the evidence in her textbook, Where Did the Towers Go? And she's not just the author of a textbook, but she's the only scientist, the only investigator to have investigated 9/11 very comprehensively, including all of the evidence, and presented it to and filed to in the federal court system. So today is December 14th, 2012. And this is episode number 296. And each episode of the Pete Santilli Show is broadcast live daily, Monday through Saturday. And we will be broadcasting tomorrow for our first Saturday episode at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 1 p.m. Central, and 2 p.m. Eastern. A recorded iTunes podcast can be automatically downloaded at www.thepetesantillishow.com. Now, I'd also like to invite you, if you could. I'm going to take care of a couple of things throughout the show. One of which is to invite you to our chat room. If you're listening to me right now, you can actually go to thepetesantillishow.com/chat, CHAT, or you can go to thepetesantillishow.com and click on the chat button at the top. The reason why I want you to do this, if at all possible, you'll get a chance to join us for a special continuation of the presentation after the show. We don't have enough time to cover all the evidence in this 2-hour episode, but Dr. Judy has agreed to stay with us to finish her slide presentation. We will be recording this event, and the event will be published on the internet on video. So this is a very momentous occasion. Of course, Dr. Judy Wood, as I mentioned, she earned her PhD degree from Virginia Tech and is a former professor of mechanical engineering. She has research expertise in experimental stress analysis, structural mechanics, deformation analysis, materials characterization, and materials engineering science. Her research has involved testing materials, including complex material systems, in the area of photomechanics, or the use of optical and image analysis methods that determine physical properties of materials and measure how those materials respond to forces placed upon them. And her area of expertise actually involves interferometry in forensic science. And she taught graduate and undergraduate engineering classes and has authored or co-authored over 60 peer-reviewed papers and journal publications in her areas of expertise. So I'm pleased, ladies and gentlemen, once again, to bring Dr. Judy Wood back to the Pete Santilli Show. Welcome back. And she actually needs to be reconnected. Just wanted to let you know, and that's okay, because I can we can do a reconnection here. I think we're reconnected. If not,
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Fantastic. Welcome back, Dr. Judy. Are you all set? Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I think so.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Judy Wood is now joining me for the second day of a 2-day presentation, and we're going to pick up where we left off. Now, if you didn't join us yesterday, that's okay. We recorded the entire event yesterday. We're going to pick up right where we left off yesterday. And Dr. Judy, if you could just give us a brief recap of where we came from yesterday, and then let's take it away from here.
Well, yesterday we discussed how the towers didn't burn up, nor did they slam to the ground. They turned into dust in midair. And we know this because the three main things, if they had slammed to the ground, there'd be a pile of rubble there. Mm-hmm. There wasn't an appropriate size pile of rubble. And if they'd slammed to the ground, they would have destroyed the bathtub, which is a dike that keeps out the Hudson River, because the towers were built in the Hudson River. And the third thing is the seismic impact. And that's what we'll pick up here. We just had started into that part. If the buildings had slammed to the ground, the seismic charts would have reflected that. Mm-hmm. And they didn't. It didn't happen.
And a couple things, if you don't mind, before we get started here, if I could, one thing that really struck me, a couple things really struck me yesterday that I learned that I hadn't known before, even though I read the book cover to cover. But the readings that were taken on the seismic data wasn't just from maybe 3 stations in New York City. It was multiple stations from all around the northeastern region. Is that correct? Right.
From that area. 20 miles, 30 miles, 40 miles away.
Right.
In that region. Mm-hmm. There was a first responder, Michael Ober, who said, "I don't remember the sound of the buildings hitting the ground. Someone told me that they were measured on the Richter scale. I don't know how true that is, because if the buildings are hitting the ground that hard, why don't I remember the sound of it?" Mm.
Michael Ober is an EMT?
Yep. Mm-hmm. And this next image that I'm showing is probably why few people heard it. And I also mentioned a story about someone who worked in the 27th floor who went down to the ferry terminal, and someone came up and said the South Tower just collapsed, and they thought the guy was crazy because he didn't hear it, he didn't feel it. When he walked past the tower, it was in good health. So he really didn't, he was shocked from that. Now, getting into the seismic signal, I have arrows that show from an earthquake that happened earlier that year. It happened in January, Midtown Manhattan. So we know that bedrock can transmit seismic signals. First, there's a P wave, a primary wave that arrives. Then there's the S wave, or the secondary wave. They travel at different speeds through the Earth, so that if you know what the difference in the speeds are, the difference in the arrival time of those two waves will tell you how far away the epicenter is. Now, if we look at the upper right-hand corner of this graph, we'll see a tracing from when WTC1, the North Tower, went away. You don't have an S wave and you don't have a P wave. you only have a surface wave. Note how wide apart the spacing is of those waves. When I first saw that, I thought, wait, have they overfiltered it, or what the heck's going on here?
Now, for people on AM, if you don't mind, if I could just ask you a quick question about those two. But being that we've got two waves, and the surface waves look a little bit loopy, less I guess jolty or rigid. I mean, as a visual representation, what does that mean?
They're smoother.
Okay.
They're a lot further apart. The wavelength is longer.
Okay. So what would that feel like if you were
frequency.
standing there? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
Well, you wouldn't really feel. Those are fairly close together, but there's like several waves in a second.
sure.
So you would feel, something's going on there. But
Sure.
What I show in the next chart is the difference in how those waves act. Like a P wave, a primary wave, is like a rubber band snapping. An S wave is like a jump rope where the motion is transverse to the direction of travel. And a surface wave is kind of a rolling wave along the surface. And how I would explain that is when you get up off your mattress in the morning, it springs back because it no longer has your weight on it.
Mm-hmm.
That it's recovering from taking off that load. That's a surface kind of wave. It might, roll along on the surface. And that's a much lower frequency. And below we see, again, that seismic signal from the earthquake in January. And see where the P wave arrived and then the S wave arrived.
Mm-hmm.
But if we look at during the demise of the North Tower, be careful not to say collapse, during the demise of the North Tower, there's no S wave or P wave, just that surface wave. And there's notice that the primary signal lasted for about 8 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
You see a problem with that?
I do, but I cheated just a little bit. But yes, I do see a big problem with that.
That it takes about 9.5 seconds to drop a bowling ball off the roof of one of those buildings and have it slam to the ground below.
In a vacuum.
But
that's without any air resistance.
Right. And it took, and the ground only shook for 8 seconds. How does that work?
Mm.
The building did not slam to the ground. Now here's the chart of the seismic recordings during that day that picks up right after the demise of Tower 2. And you'll see in the upper right-hand corner the signal for the demise of Tower 1. And then later on in the day, you see various quarry blasts around Pennsylvania and New Jersey. And then down at the very bottom, you'll see a vertical red line, event 5. No seismic event that you can detect on this chart, but right after it, there's this little blob of black stuff that was some activity in the Fox Islands, which is part of the Aleutian Islands. Mm. But the demise of Building 7 was essentially a non-seismic event.
Okay. And then this says Seattle Kingdom. This slide.
See,
okay.
folks often say, well, it's obvious that towers 1, 2, and 7 were controlled demolition. Well, let's look at what a controlled demolition does. Maybe the controlled demolitions don't have P and S waves. This is a seismic chart for the Seattle Kingdom, and you can see there's a P wave and an S wave.
Right.
There's a lot of data for this particular demise because they're worried about when they blew up the kingdom, worried about setting off an earthquake along a fault line.
Now, for our audio,
also,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Our audio only people, these other lines represent these other stations or other areas, correct?
No, this is when they destroyed the kingdom, but the other lines they keep the chart running all day, and that's just the recording before and after.
Oh, okay. All right, fantastic.
So you can see what the normal background noise is for that chart. Mm-hmm. But let's compare with the dropping of a bowling ball off the roof of the kingdom. It would take a little under 4 seconds in a vacuum to hit the ground, but the ground shook for much, much longer than that. instead of less time. Remember, with the towers, the ground shook for less time.
That's right.
Than it would take to drop a bowling ball.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going on to the next one. This is the chart of Building 7's seismic signals. It's hard to pick out from background noise. This is from 5 different stations, and there was no S wave or P wave that could be detected. So they calculated when, the seismologists calculated when the P and S waves should have arrived and marked that on the chart. And you can see there's no, picking it out from background noise. Not only that, the surface waves were less, that it takes, to drop for a size scale, it takes about 6.5 seconds to drop a bowling ball off the roof of Building 7 and have it hit the ground in a vacuum. And if you look at the surface waves, they also were less than that amount of time, similar to the towers. And in one of the stations, the MANY station, which is about the same latitude as the southern tip of Connecticut, but it's a little bit west of there, into like directly north of Manhattan. That one, they couldn't pick anything out from background noise at all. So this is a sampling of 5 different stations. And, so you can't say one station's faulty. It's all consistently showing the same kind of thing. Pretty much a lack of seismic activity during the demise of Building 7, which registered as, the impact was equivalent to a 0.6 on the Richter scale. It's kind of like a jackhammer on the street.
Wow. 0.6 is the jackhammer. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if we compare, just, each of those readings were much less than what would be expected compared to the King Dome. And using the King Dome as a comparison, which registered a 2.3 on the Richter scale, Tower 1 and 2 are 30 times more in potential energy. But they made the same or less of an impact. And Tower 2 was the first one to go. Now, let's just calculate if, for example, all but the bottom 16 floors were dustified. Just turn to dust, and you end up with a 16-story building that was dropped to the ground. So you get about the same seismic impact as what was recorded.
Wow.
And for Tower 1, if you dustified all but the bottom 20 stories, you would get about the same seismic signal as what was recorded. Remember the WFC dome across the street that didn't have any clobbering, on it?
That's right.
And
the
I
green
noted
dome.
then that the only stab wounds were about 18 floors up from the ground. That's the highest level of a stab wound, a steel beam going through a building.
Right.
And Building 7, if we turned everything to dust except for the bottom approximately 2.5 stories, we get the seismic signal that was recorded.
Okay. Dr. Judy?
Yes.
We are going to take our breaks here. And if you can hold that thought right there, ladies and gentlemen, this is absolutely riveting. We will be back right after this message with Dr. Judy Wood. Where did the towers go?
Do you experience anxiety on a daily basis?
Okay.
Do you struggle?
Good. You feel good? Dr. Judy, are you all set technically on your side? Okay, good.
Yeah, I might switch to is this headset any different than yesterday's?
You sound perfect. You sound great.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll stick with this. This is the one that wasn't working yesterday.
Oh, really? Okay, no, actually, whatever you're doing right now sounds perfect. I guess if it's not broken today.
Well, there's something weird with this computer that just shuts off ports randomly.
Yeah. Now, can you do me a favor? You'll notice that sometimes I'm interjecting and interrupting. If we could also just for the listeners that could be on their iPhones in their car, if you could just describe the image that we're looking at. I just want to make sure that they know what we're looking at as we describe it. Now, everyone will have the opportunity to see it on the video afterwards. But
right. Would it be good for you to describe it or me?
I'd love to. Yeah, if you don't mind. I just don't want to interrupt your flow.
Okay. Yeah, you remember the blue asterisk and the red asterisk is mean it's waiting for a mouse click, and the blue means it's ready for the next slide.
Right.
And we're ready. We're done with this slide, but I don't know what the next one is. So we'll
Okay.
find out.
We will. We can advance and go backwards, right? No?
Oh yeah, we can do it that way. All right. Let's see.
Justification. All right.
Oh, that's good. We'll just sit here and show where we're going. Now this is. I hope the videos are going to play well. I've got a whole bunch of different justification videos, as you probably have seen.
Yeah, the videos came out pretty good last night. The ones that we viewed, absolutely. Okay. For those of you, I'm sorry if I could just give some notices here. If you're in the join.me, okay, that chat room, unfortunately, we can't respond in there. There's just too many chat rooms going on. So if you could join us in the regular chat room, I say the regular chat room, the link that I provided in the join.me chat room. So you can join us there. It's free. All right. Let's see, we got live show chat. And then the where did the towers go chat, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, good.
Yes.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, also, we are going to continue on. So at the conclusion of the 2-hour broadcast on American Freedom Radio, and Dr. Judy Wood, we're okay with that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
What we will have to do is I just need to break up the recording. So we'll just pause very briefly at the end of the 2 hours. I'll stop the record and then I have to restart it. So that way it's not too big of a file, that is. Okay. All right, good. Susanna Cole.
Yes, I'm here.
Everything okay in the chat room? Any issues?
Everything is running great.
Okay.
It looks like everybody is. It looks like everybody's hearing okay, and we've had a couple of people I think had a hard time getting in, but are in now. Gramps and a parent motive, so
Okay.
they're in now. Finally.
Connecticut. That's crazy. Can you imagine?
It is. It's sad.
Can you imagine all those mothers running around shouting gun control?
Oh,
Or not those mothers, but all the other mothers.
Here we go.
yes.
Paradigm shift, Saturday nights, 8 p.m. Central.
Do you think that thing's so straight? Everybody just pays and pays. The things don't feel the same. There's no way
Okay.
to shame.
We are back, and we want to make sure that we save as much airtime as possible to get back to Dr. Judy Wood's presentation. I do have a breaking news report, ladies and gentlemen, and brief commentary. I'm not going to consume too much time in this episode, too much to cover. But CBS News has reported this morning, I would say this year's 9/11. 18 children are among at least 26 dead in Newtown, Connecticut, at an elementary school shooting. So at least 26 people are dead, including 18 children after a gunman opened fire at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newton Friday morning. CBS News reported. I'm going to just flat out call it exactly the way I see it. I smell false flag all over it. Somebody is trying to propel their gun control agenda, obviously, and this is one of the most horrifying, it is satanic. No angry gunmen dressed up in fatigues go to kill children. Only the satanic elite at the top that are trying to get bills passed in the UN perpetrate these crimes. So, Dr. Judy, I'm sorry to just hand the baton over to you on that note, but I will provide further commentary in subsequent shows. But welcome back. Let's continue on.
Okay, thanks. And also, what should be noted is the same as for 9/11. What went wrong in our observations was that we were all jumping onto an answer. And it's important to sit back and look at the evidence first.
That's exactly
and
right.
maybe we should remember to do that with this shooting event.
Especially early on, correct?
Yeah, especially early on, just take in the data. Don't jump to conclusions. And first look at all the evidence, like dustification and lather. That's what we're going to be moving on to what we're going to be talking about here. And so, dustification, I think it's pretty clear what it means. These buildings turn to dust in midair. Now, if you drop an Alka-Seltzer tablet, it's just an analogy. Alka-Seltzer tablets are rigid objects when they're dry, but you change their environment and drop them into like a glass of water. They effervesce and dissolve. Well, let's say that there's some kind of environmental change where, a piece of steel that's normally rigid in one environment, you change its environment, it looks like it effervesces and dissolves. We don't know how that environment changed, but it appears to do a similar type thing, that the environment changes and it causes it to do something else. A lot of people have made a big deal out of this particular picture, which is these squirts coming out of the building at regular intervals during its demise. Tower 1, when it was being taken apart, came down in a wave, moved from top to the bottom. It never hit the bottom, but the wave moved downward. And as it moved downward, you saw these regular squirts coming out of the sides and the center of each face. Now, if you think of what the tower is made up of, it's a tall tower. How are you going to get water up to the top floor? You don't pump it straight up. It would have a big siphon effect. You'd never get up there that far. There's too much head. So what they do is pump water up in, for example, 10-floor intervals, put it in a holding tank, and then pump it from there up to the next holding tank, up to the next holding tank. So you have holding tanks at regular intervals throughout the height of the building. And those are pressure vessels. When the walls of those pressure vessels begins to weaken and dustify or dissolve, at some point it's going to cut loose and the water's going to be squirting out. To me, that's what this looks like. I do not know what this is, but it looks more like squirting water tanks than it does anything else. Surely doesn't look like a bomb.
And interesting enough, as we're looking at this image, is that the squirts or the it looks like puffs of whatever it is, projecting debris, are in the center of the building.
Yeah, you wouldn't use the corner offices for holding water tanks, would you?
Of course not. Yeah, that's a great point.
And if you're going to take out, with bombs, to take out the strongest points of the building, you go for the corners, not the center of a face.
That's exactly right.
Anyway, so just because there's squirts does not mean there's a bomb. Now, there should have been a whole lot more squirts than just those. If the building is being, mashed from top to bottom, if you, consider the 8-second demise time, at approximately the 56th floor, that stuff, the average speed it should be squirting out is greater than Mach 1. Now, if you go for the regular, bowling ball drop speed of 9.5 seconds, that happens at the 38th floor. But by the time the buildings got into the ground, pancaking, the center stuff needs to be squirting out at like Mach 2.5. The average speed stuff has to be squirting out is Mach 1.4. So all of the buildings adjacent to this tower should have looked like they're machine gun fired. And
this would have occurred if there was, let's say, if there were a controlled demolition. This building would come down with the weight of all the debris, correct?
Right. It has to come down at a certain, if it's pancaking or whatever it's doing, and we're left with nothing at the bottom, that stuff has to go somewhere. Right. And it's been clearing out on the way down. So where does it go? In regular controlled demolition, you don't get stuff squirting out like that in that much distance because you're left with a pile of stuff.
Right.
But we saw there was no pile of stuff. So if it was somehow ground up by some other means and then shot out to get out of the way, it should be shooting out at some horrendous speed. Like if you had mini, nano, micro nukes or whatever someone wants to dream up that pulverized everything in the building, you still got to squirt that stuff out.
That's right.
But what this shows is that the building turned into dust in place. Otherwise, you would have stuff squirting out.
And there were people in the streets that were just basically just got wafted with dust down the streets.
And I think you mentioned a fellow who was there.
Yes.
Who was covered with dust and, didn't get cooked or anything. And some people could almost outrun the dust cloud. You see a video of that. Now, people did hear booms, but would you know that there's some witnesses to some of the things that were going boom? Nobody saw a bomb, but these Scott packs, the air tanks that the firefighters wear when they go in to fight fires in a smoky environment, they have extra ones in their fire trucks, and those were seen exploding. Another interesting thing that you think of, if somebody's going to be wiring up the building for demolition, like you wire up to blow up things in a rock quarry. You see these signs on the highway, blasting zone ahead, turn off cell phones and two-way radio. And they tell you when end blasting zones, you can turn your stuff back on without worrying about setting off a premature detonation. Well, how are you going to do that in Manhattan?
Right.
Without people knowing that their cell phones are being turned off?
You'd have to evacuate it. Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a bunch of various first responder testimonies. We don't need to read them, but there's some segments here. Scott cylinders and oxygen cylinders were all letting go. They were blowing up left and right. This is at ground level. The cutest one was by Renee Davila. His boss asked him, was vehicle 219 destroyed? Was it on fire? What? Was it on fire? Fire? We saw the sucker blow up. We heard a boom. His vehicle.
Now, a fire truck has a tank, and it's essentially a pressure vessel, correct? If it's subjected to...
The Scott packs are pressure vessels.
Okay. And
the
what
air
about
tanks that the firefighters wear.
Okay, how about the water tank itself in the fire truck?
I don't know if they have water tanks in fire trucks. I guess they do. I think that they're usually tapping into the stuff on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
The fire hydrants.
Sure. Okay.
Maybe they have. Maybe some do have extra water on them, but I wouldn't think they'd have that much. Anyway, we're going to see some dustification here. Whoops, on the...
Sorry about that. That was, I moved or tapped my mouse. You have control now. There you go.
All right, here's a video. We can watch a part of it turning to dust. Now, what I want you to pay attention to here is there's going to be a chunk falling right down this northwest corner. This is Tower 1 during its demise, and along the northwest corner, you can see that vertical white line. And there's going to be some stuff falling down, and it'll merge this piece of wheat checks, and you watch it turn to dust. And so keep watching here. And I think here it is emerging. You see where the mouse is pointing? I don't know if you can see that.
Yes, and we're looking at the corner of the building. This is piece of steel with wheat checks, correct?
Yeah, the northwest corner of the building. And you see that it's just dissolving, like ice cream melting.
And it's leaving a stream of dust behind it, a trail of dust, period.
And then we can watch that at full speed, and you'll realize that the other items in the picture are doing the same thing.
This was the one when I was introduced to your evidence. When I looked at it, I said, holy cow, look at that. I never even realized.
There's no way around that. And so here we'll see that at full speed, and it plays several times. I'll get the mouse out of the way. You see that white thing coming down in the corner.
Right.
It'll play again. I'll have my mouse here to highlight it.
every object is just dissolving into dust. It's not
Right.
smoke.
Yeah, what would be smoking as it's falling like that? Where does this dust come from? This is opaque. It blocked out 100% of the sunlight for a few minutes.
Dr. Judy, another thing I noticed is there were certain areas where the dust was actually shooting upwards.
Right. Like in the cover image of the book. Oh, you can even see it here, the trail it leaves.
Mm-hmm.
It arcs out and over and on the way down.
Mm.
So let's going on to the next one. We'll see plenty of other ones. This is the intersection that stuff was to be falling into. And all we see really is a piece of aluminum cladding and unburned paper. You don't see any big steel wheat checks in that intersection, and that's where that stuff was falling. That Verizon building is viewable in those images.
And a group of stunned first responders wandering in the street.
You can read their body language. This guy with his arms at the sides, another one with his hands on his hips down here, another guy with his arms folded, another one with arms at the sides. They just have come out of their hiding places where they were during the demise of Tower 1. But you see, there's a hole in the sky there. There's no Tower 1. I mean, what would you think if you just come out of your hiding place and you see there's no tower there?
Wow.
And for Building 7, a lot of folks say, well, Building 7 was all different. Well, notice that this is 1 second difference between these two frames, and that cloud advanced very slowly. But look at these ends where I've shown the comparison of these two in the red zones, and look at the face, the side of the building. All of a sudden, it gets all this lather. I'm calling it lather.
Right.
No term. This thick stuff. It's not smoke. There's something else. The building, it seems, has turned to dust over the afternoon, and all this lather inside that just starts squirting out during the building's demise.
Now, do you call the particles like nanoparticles? I mean, it looks like it just goes from hard surface to all of a sudden just dustified almost instantaneously.
What you see is the outer surface is still intact, fairly intact as far as we can see, but we can't see inside the building. And we know from the seismic lack of impact that there wasn't much mass to hit the ground. And from the eyewitnesses who were in the building, they described this thick dust. They thought it was smoke, but you could breathe, but it was thick. And it just filled everything. And that, is a consistent trend I've seen in these various buildings. I call it lather. It's where everything just is kind of turned to dust in midair. It's what's trailing behind those wheat checks that are falling, where it's opaque. I'm not talking about wispy dust, but opaque dust trail.
Mm-hmm.
But these two shots are 1 second apart, approximately, and you can see a huge difference in the face, that north face of Building 7. Especially, here you can see the very end of the building, and here it's completely, almost completely covered with the lather and what's squirting out here just in 1 second's time.
Mm-hmm.
And this cloud down here hasn't advanced very far. And we were looking from approximately B1, looking at the building from that direction. Now we're going to go look all the way around at various angles and see this other event. It's the remaining core columns of the North Tower. It's often referred to as the spire, but it's core columns, and I believe it's right above stairwell B, where those folks survived.
Wow. Now, one thing before we go to break, I noticed several different accounts that like that one firefighter that said that he had sun shining through. He was in the stairwell, and he looked in front of him. It looked like pepper in the air, just floating in the air. Mm-hmm. We'll be right back right after this message, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Pete Santilli. You're listening to The Pete Santilli Show. We'll be back with Dr. Judy Wood. Where did the towers go?
Are chemtrail geoengineering programs changing our weather and destroying our environment? Why in the world are they spraying?
Okay,
They
good.
want to.
Excellent.
It's fantastic, you guys. It's the sound is really good. The video looks great. Everybody in chat seems to be hearing everything okay.
Good.
And responding and engaging. So that's great. You guys are doing great.
Yeah, slave driven is the username. Slave driven says something about it just dissolving, and that's exactly what we're watching. I mean, it's unmistakable. You look at the entire building, if you can imagine this, whatever was actually turning it from solid material to dust. Could have happened internally, right inside out.
The analogy with an Alka-Seltzer tablet. Mm-hmm. It changes environment, it effervesces and dissolves.
There you go. Yeah. Wow. That is a great analogy.
But to see what, it's not water that does this, it's something else with its environment.
It actually causes steel, something super, super solid that we know to be a really, really solid object or item, just turning to dust.
Yeah, it's we've never seen that before. Well, there is a place we've seen it before, and we'll see it later.
We will.
But these first parts, I'm taking it slow and carefully because this is sort of the building blocks for everything else.
Right.
Instead of jumping, what about this? What about that? What about that? And you have this patchwork of jumping to something rather than just we're standing here, we're looking, just taking in the information, seeing what happened, observing. Right. And when you stop to observe, it's amazing what you see.
And plug your ears and stop listening to everyone else, but just observing it, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Turn your ears off. Because nobody can see for you.
And with me, you look. I mean, once you look at, and I'm always saying this that everyone that considers themselves to be 9/11 truthers have to talk about 100% of the evidence to put that before everyone in order for them to make that decision. But most of this stuff, if you saw it right from the very beginning, it would have boxed out all those other theories right away, and that's why they wanted to hide this stuff. Correct?
Right, and this is not a theory. This is evidence.
This is evidence. This is factual that, certain things could not occur as they said that they occurred if you had looked at this stuff.
Right. Whatever theory you want to apply to this, if you feel the need to apply a theory, it needs to account for all of this or it's wrong.
Right.
But it's easier just to not have any theories and just look at what happened because the evidence tells you what happened.
Yeah, I remember when the governor said, the building pancaked and pulverized and went into the ground.
Well, you can either get one or the other. You can't get both.
Actually, three things occurred as the way he said it, which were all impossible because the first two, as you have mentioned, that the amount of energy that it would require to do both pancaking and pulverization. Well,
not just the amount of energy. Think about it. In order to pulverize something on the way down, mm-hmm. It has to slam into something rigid.
Right.
So if one floor is slamming into another floor that has to be rigid, how can it be collapsing?
Right. That's right.
Then it would be like a shock absorber, and it couldn't be pulverizing into it.
Right. Wow. Did you hear that, Susanna?
Yes.
Huh.
It's amazing.
It'd have to be perfectly rigid underneath. Yeah.
Not perfectly, but quite rigid.
Right.
And it can't be perfectly super rigid.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And more. Listen to the Paradigm Shift, Saturday nights, 8 p.m. Central.
You're listening to The Pete Santilli Show. One small step for man, one giant leap towards the truth.
Okay, we're going to come back real quick. We're now talking about dustification. And Dr. Judy Wood joins me, and she has on the screen right now that we're looking at, and you'll be able to see this video. We're recording it, but we will describe it as we go. Listen to her words and how she's describing as you will see it. It's unmistakable. The dustified spire right now is on the screen, and she's going to describe this video that we're looking at here.
And this one that we'd seen, we'll see it again. The spire just kind of, which is the remaining core columns, just sort of faints into dust. My detractors like to say, well, that was dust that settled on it during the quote collapse, or the controlled demolition, whatever they want to call it, and now it's just shaking off of it. And I have a video that counters that. I call it the peeling banana. You can see the building gets torn away from these core columns like a peeling banana.
Right.
How could it, when does the dust settle on it? And then right after that is when it faints. Another issue is, when they say the dust hangs in the air because it's so fine. Well, if it hangs in the air because it's so fine, how did it settle on it?
That's right.
And here we'll watch it one more time, the dustify, how it just sort of faints. This one really is right after the peeling banana. And it just kind of lingers there. Now, it doesn't have to carry any load anymore because it's had the floors ripped away from it. And it's strong because it wasn't built to stand, freestanding like that. And it just faints in the dust.
Yeah.
And, if you want to say that it fell over, fine. Okay, but you should be able to find it on the ground, which it wasn't there. But let's say there's a 700-foot hole in the ground. That thing's about 700 feet tall. Okay, you drop that thing down the hole, and someone's saying it leaves that dust trailing behind it because it was so fine it landed on it. Well, how did it settle on it if it's so fine? Whichever way you look at it, there's no way around it. And we'll look at it even further. This is a view from across the river, the two top images. And we can see that it's starting to dustify in the second image. It suddenly it starts turning fuzzy around it.
Right.
And the series of images in the bottom, which we'll take a closer look at, you can see that it comes to a point where it no longer has crisp edges. It's now hazy. And if it was dust that had settled on it, it would have, been fuzzy around it the whole time.
And all the dust that's coming through the buildings, it's wafting up and looks like cauliflower as it's coming down the way. Yeah.
And we'll look at the series of those other images, and you can see there at that moment that it no longer has crisp edges.
Just fades away. Wow.
And the next one, now we'll look at this more carefully. We'll look at that close up, but notice there's no dust at the top, and there's plenty of dust at the lower part.
Oh, that's right.
And it's squirting kind of, down at a 45-degree angle. And if we look at a close-up of that, you can even see little wires or, stringy things around the floor, but you don't see a haze yet of dust. And we also have, this is a picture of Building 3 on the right, and higher up, before the stuff got as low as Building 3, is the picture on the left. And there's the same chunk of material you can recognize between the two. And you can see it's missing some material.
I have never seen this one.
Between the left and the right. Let me back up and show those circles again that fly in. Oops.
Right, that's okay. And ladies and gentlemen, we're looking at the spire. This is the crystal clear image. I've never seen one this clear and this big on my screen. But that spire is standing erect. At the top, it's perfectly crisp, clear edges, and then dustified in. Okay, here we are.
And this first one is this red circle. Notice you can see some steel columns behind it, and then the second image, there's no steel columns. And it's closer to the ground, and it's going right over Building 3. And then you see this other set of wheat checks with the red arrows trailing, showing you that this dust squirting out, getting ejected off of these steel columns, and they sort of look like paper mache or kind of floppy. They don't look like a rigid unit anymore.
And again, I have this thought in my mind that I've been told for 10 years that basically is impossible looking at these two images right here. I'm not even going to discuss what it is, but looking at these two images, it doesn't look like this object as it's floating down and decomposing almost, it looks like.
What's causing it to fail between those two pictures when it just has air that it's confronting?
Right.
And also, another thing to notice is look along this roof line of Building 3. It's no longer straight down here. And that's right after this picture was taken, there's this big bite out of Building 3, and there's just that southern column that remained. And that was right where it tore out. And nothing's hitting it there.
Wow, look at that.
So now we'll talk about lather. It's a type of dustification. It's this thick stuff that comes off like an Alka-Seltzer tablet, but it also occurs while the building's still standing. You can see on the left side, that's the North Tower, and it's coming out of one face.
Oh, look at that.
From ground to roof. Now, black at the top, I don't know what the difference is in colors, but something else different is going on.
That's absolutely right.
But it's one face and one face only, from ground to roof.
And that reminds me of looking at World Trade Center 7 as well. That one face with the, yep.
Yeah, we'll be seeing that too.
Yep.
And it's sitting in place on the left, and the one on the right is in motion while the wheat checks are falling. They're also dustifying. Now here's the Building 7 one that you're thinking of. We're going to look at the video and notice this is the north face of Building 7. And it has a few busted out windows like around the 13th floor and 12th floor, and then also down at the 8th floor. You can see by the red numbering. And like right here, this is about the only window where you have what appears to be smoke pouring out. And I say appears because we don't know. But one thing you can know is that if smoke need to get out of that building, it's going to go out the path of least resistance. So why isn't it going out these windows? Why is it just going out the end of the hallway there? One face only, from ground to roof.
Right.
And if it's smoke, wouldn't it, it would be pushing its way out. This instead looks like it's being pulled out. And if it was regular smoke, it would be, I would think, wafting up. Let me note that the wind speed that day was about 7 miles per hour, maybe 8 miles per hour, 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there. And
No. Go low to the corner.
Just pouring out.
Notice how its spiral wraps around.
That's
Why don't
right.
we be, curling around? We can see it one more time, because it is quite interesting what it's doing. Definitely not wafting.
Go low to the corner.
It's spiraling. That's right. It looks like almost into a tornado.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And you'd wonder if it's being pulled out rather than pushing its way out. If it's pushing its way out, it would be doing like maybe what this is doing down here, just coming out every open hole. But why from ground to roof? When fires, consume everything burnable in one room, they go to the next room. Then they move down. They can't stay in a room once they've consumed all the fuel. So you normally don't get an entire building from ground to roof burning at the same time without burning right around the corner.
Right. Wow.
Dust rollout and fuzzballs. We're just going to look and observe how the dust cloud rolled out. We've all seen this famous image of this wall of dust coming at someone, almost as though you put sideboards on the building and then dustified everything in the middle and then took off the sideboards and just whoosh, all the dust poured out in a big wall, like the dam just broke. When controlled demolition occurs, you slice the building up and slam it to the ground, and then it gets busted up and dust gets formed. This dust formed well above the ground level.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And let's look at more what this dust did. Well, you can see this guy has his neck tucked down under his collar, and this other fellow, you can see where his tie was because of the silhouette there where it's clean, where the dust didn't hit him.
Right. And
the woman in the middle, it's clear she was just caught in the dust and didn't burn up. And I think you said that there's, someone who was there, and they said similar thing. You just got covered with dust. You didn't get cooked.
It was cool, as a matter of fact, he said.
Right. And some of the first responders I spoke with privately said that the dust cloud felt initially cooler than ambient temperature, which is odd. Now look at this dust cloud more. This is really strange. It rolls out a certain distance and then goes up.
Okay.
And this wonderful couple, Bob and Bree, filmed it from here. I think we're coming up for break, so we'll run the video right after the break.
We are, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely. I mean, these images are all contained in the book, Where Did the Towers Go? You can go to the PeteSantilliShow.com. At the top of that page, click on Where Did the Towers Go? And you can order yourself a copy of this textbook or go to drjudywood.com, of course. We come back, we're going to continue with these riveting images. I mean, I've looked at this stuff inside and out, but to hear it being described by Dr. Judy Wood herself, some anomalies that you will, for the first time, have seen this since 9/11, and that should make you very, very upset that no one has ever presented this to you.
Time to go. It's what we need.
Now you and your family and friends can enjoy the cleanest, most delicious, and...
I've done as much as I have prepared over time, looking at all this stuff and reading through the textbook. There's just certain things that have taken my eyeballs away. Even 10 years of conditioning. There's just certain things I've seen in the past day and a half that I just have never seen before. It's just remarkable. That spiraling
is incredible.
Yeah.
This particular picture we're looking at here, it's the Bob and Bree image. Well, it shows where their apartment is.
Right.
But what you can see is the dust stopped. This is the rollout of the North Tower.
Mm-hmm.
You know how I know? The rollout of the South Tower stopped 1 block short of this. And the buildings are about a block apart.
Look at
this.
So
it rolled out a certain distance. The next one rolled out that distance and a little bit more.
Dr. Judy, when I'm looking at this, the face of these buildings right here, the dust comes right to the edges.
Yeah, right. It's like somebody put up a fence there or an invisible glass wall.
Mm-hmm.
And just beyond there, you see the green grass? It stayed green the whole time.
It did?
Yeah. And you'll see it when we see the video. You'll see people down there loading up on boats for evacuation.
And that dust just stopped.
It just stopped and went up. That in itself might be a very big smoking gun for a process that's going on in it. Why would the dust suddenly go up? If you have a bunch of dust on your basement floor and you drop a cookie sheet on it, it pushes the dust out.
Right.
And you get thick dust, thinner and thinner, and it trails off. It doesn't just abruptly stop at a particular distance.
Wow. What would I guess we shouldn't. Well, we just have to look at this image and just say, I'm putting this in my brain, right?
And notice that it goes up.
And stop thinking about why.
Distance, it goes up.
Yeah, that's a fact. You look at this thing, it looks like, I'm not even going to say what it looks like. It just, the dust stops, period.
And looking out from Bob and Bree's window,
mm-hmm.
It never touches their window. It stops just before the window. And you see it go up.
Wow, for those of you that are on this visual image, you have to just stare at this for a little bit. and look at the dust on the corners of the buildings. And that's
it doesn't want to go past the building.
It does not want to go past the building.
It's a property line.
Yeah.
And you can even see that when looking out of Bob and Bree's window with their video. You see just the wispy end of it, like it's hitting a wall.
Huh.
I mean, you get a close-up view of it.
Wow. I shouldn't even ask. I have so many questions to ask about that, but I'm not going to.
He's not going to, Dr. Judy.
No.
Well, I have my questions about. Well, too bad we can't, measure the chemical and content of it. But I wonder if there's some helium in there.
Really? And what would that indicate? I don't.
Well, it goes up,
Mm-hmm.
and if it had helium as a byproduct of whatever process that was going on,
Mm-hmm.
would that take it up like that?
Oh, that's right. Helium would rise like that. Mm-hmm.
And you'll see little fingers kind of reaching up like there's columns that are moving faster than other
Here we go.
columns.
We are American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
And now, broadcasting live from deep inside the bunker at FEMA Region 9 is your host, Pete Santilli, telling you the truth, whether you like it or not.
Up in smoke is so appropriate for the image that we're looking at right now on the screen. If you are on the live stream, we have an image here that Dr. Judy Wood is describing, and I'm going to tell you something. What I have had ever since I've been introduced to all this evidence is a set of a feeling of a sense of almost anger that this stuff for many, many, many years has never been described to us. As a matter of fact, never even shown to us the way these images have been shown to us. Some weird anomalies that have only come to us through Dr. Judy Wood. She's been fighting for how many years now, Dr. Judy, to show these pictures to the American public?
Well, since the beginning, but very actively since 2005.
I think it's imperative that everyone sees the images that we've seen. Just look at it. Look at the evidence, and it says so much.
In this particular one, you notice how the dust is rolled out. This is from the North Tower's demise.
Mm-hmm.
It is rolled out to just the edge of those buildings, as though it had a property line that it had to stop at, and then it goes up. You see, it's sort of like a wall, and it doesn't go further. It just starts going up. The South Tower rolled out the dust from that rolled out a certain distance, and then the North Tower, when the dust rolled out, it went 1 block further, and the towers were located about a block apart. It's as though it goes for a certain distance and goes up. But it's so wonderful that Bob and Bree took this video, and even better, that they've shared it with the world. It was a great gift, because what it captures is from their window, where I'm pointing, and this is Battery City Park, they filmed the dust cloud rolling out, and it comes up, and it doesn't quite reach their window, and then it goes up. And these are 2 of the frames from the video. You can see from their window, and you can see on the left the dust is rolling out, and the image on the right is going up, but it hasn't hit their window. Why would it go up? So it does it have helium in it? And here's the video we'll watch.
Yeah, and the audio on this too is just heart-wrenching. Just to be watching this.
Right, and for them to share it with their most personal moments like this.
Yeah.
Notice you don't hear a crash bang.
Oh my God! All these people! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh, it's awful. Oh baby, hold Lily.
Watching the towers collapse now, dead silence. Just and the dust cloud coming to their window, and they're looking down. It looks like cauliflower almost. I mean, we've seen these images over and over again.
Is the air conditioner turned off in the room?
And it wafts, not wafts, it just kind of grows upwards, right?
It's like rising like yeast bread.
Rising, yeah.
The entire building just collapsed.
We're going to leave because the smoke is coming right at us.
Obviously, this is a devastating development in our history. They're going.
You notice when it looks to the right, you can see the wispy ends of
Yeah,
right
the
where it
edge,
stops.
right.
And you also see the green grass.
And ladies and gentlemen, as we're looking at this, we're watching the dust come right up to almost an invisible wall and then go straight upwards. And as we're looking at these images,
They're running away.
the dust stops and does not ever pass. And you're saying that the dust never made it to that green patch, correct?
Right.
That is unbelievable.
And also the pedestrian bridge, it doesn't really go much past that. It kind of just stops right there.
Look at that. Look at that. It stops right there. You can almost see an invisible wall that it's hitting.
Right.
Huh.
You know, from both sides.
And we've all, I mean, hundreds of millions of people have seen these images like this, of this stuff. They've never looked at it this way before.
Yeah, and just sit and take in the data rather than say, oh, see, this is controlled demolition. It looks like controlled demolition. This looks like, instead of forcing it into a cubbyhole you already have predefined, just
running away.
Take in the data, just observe. And what you see is something that doesn't fit anything you've seen before.
Mm-mm.
And the dust kept going up like it was on a mission. It knew where it was going. It looks like the darker stuff, on this image on the right, the darker stuff goes westward and the white stuff goes south and up. And it gets up to a certain elevation, then it starts dispersing.
Huh. And the question mark is, what carried the dust upward, question mark? Helium?
I don't know. But that's a question that I have.
Yeah.
But, we don't have air samples from that moment at that time. But why would it go up? So, like it's on a mission, it's going somewhere. It's attracted to something for some reason. Very, very weird.
Mm-hmm.
And very, abrupt. Now, after I saw this picture, I wanted to see where else it went to, and I went looking for some weather satellite images. And I think you know the outcome of that, but we'll save that for later.
Yes.
And here's a picture that was taken on Halloween. Notice the wet tire track marks amongst fresh dirt. So that dirt had to come from somewhere. And you can see in the upper right corner, they're misting the area to hold down dust or something. But if the ground was hot, you wouldn't have this grappler here with the hydraulics, exposed, parked on top of a grill. Your steak would cook in there. So, people walking around here would get cooked. So that doesn't make sense. Also, if they're misting something really hot, it's going to have a steam explosion.
Right.
It's not going to quiet down the steam or the dustification. But this is coming, you can see little pockets in the ground it's coming out of amongst the wet dirt.
Now, we've had conversations about the dirt, but I just don't, my brain does not compute. Why the dirt?
That you can guess that's how they clean up toxic spills.
Okay.
A lot of peat is used for that.
Right.
Well, kind of like how you use kitty litter to clean up the spilled oil in your garage.
So that's
it soaks it up so you can cart it away.
That's not dust?
The fumes?
No, the dirt. The dirt is not dust?
No, the dirt isn't. This is actually some of the first responders even said that the lower they got in, digging out the site, the more rich the soil became. They didn't know why. And I've got pictures of dirt trucks coming and going.
Huh, wow.
Till 2008. So, Fuzzballs. And again, I just assign names to different phenomena I noticed that was going to be easy to remember, so it wouldn't bias your observations.
Mm-hmm.
So until you know what it is, because if you use a name of a known technology to define something that's unknown, you're fixing to mess up. That's incorrect. Now notice this thick haze behind where the guy's kicking up some dust, and it's clean air right above his knee. Mm-hmm. So how could you get that fine of dust settled in that amount of time? We just happen to have on the clock up here 14 minutes after 10. Remember, it was 9:59 and some seconds when the South Tower went poof.
That's right. Huh.
So this is within 15 minutes of when the South Tower went poof. And this guy is like a little bit of distance east of Broadway, which is one street over from Church. Church was at the east edge of the WTC complex. So it's a couple blocks away and a few blocks north. So it seems to be that the coarse dust landed and then became fine dust. That's really fine dust down there. Toasty cars and weird fires. This is some people's favorite material. Whoops, I'm going backwards. When I say it's toasty cars, I don't imply the cause. I'm saying like it's toast, it's history. It's my term for something happened to it. You got to get a new one. You can't fix it. It's history. Mm-hmm. And there's some area got toasted. In other words, it got destroyed somehow, but we're not going to state how because we don't know. We can't say fire or it got burnt because we don't know the cause. We're just going to observe. Notice the flopped over window frames in this police car. This police car was found over an FDR Drive. I don't know where it was toasted. It was toasted there or elsewhere, but it has some mighty strange toastings to it, like these loops of the front window and the back window just flopped over.
Wow.
There was a first responder who witnessed a car going into spontaneous combustion over on the East River under FDR Drive. He assumed in his way of rationalizing that a fireball must have gotten loose from the World Trade Center and rolled down there and hit the car, because why else would the car go into spontaneous combustion? That's the best he could do. People are always trying to explain stuff. Mm-hmm. This is another car that was found over by FDR Drive that is really weird. We're going to look at both sides of it. And the right side of it, it has this abrupt boundary between the front door and the back door, where it's completely toasted in one and not toasted at all. It looks like I call it the wax spot car because it's got a spot on it that looks like it's untouched. And I say wax like new from the showroom floor with a new wax job. And notice the lights on top, the plastic lights. If you had a rip-roaring fire going on inside that car, why aren't the lights melted? And if the front door had been open and you had a rip-roaring fire going on inside that car, it would be lapping out around the back door.
Could I say this with absolute 100% certainty that a vehicle burning like that, I mean, if it were burning with fire, those plastic pieces would not survive, period.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre. You try to figure out everything about it. Like, okay, if the door is open, you'd have fire lapping around the corners. But if it's closed, why is it just the front door is toasted, not the back?
Yeah, and Dr. Judy, just to clarify one thing, because somebody did send me a picture of this particular one with the same numbers on the back. I think that vehicle was moved from another area, and I did see where that exact vehicle was in the middle of the street somewhere else. The door was open.
We don't know where it moved from or to or what timing was on which and where it was when. I don't get into those nitpicky things.
Right.
Because this car, here's where it was found, and here's what happened to it. And the other is a distraction meant for probably distraction purposes. Mm-hmm. Now, we do have some cars where we know where they were toasted because we have images of them being toasted there before, during, and after. Right. And so if I'm going to state where I know cars were toasted, that's where I'll state it. I have other ones where first responders testify to it, and the vehicles are still there. So those are kind of for sure. I don't know where this one was toasted. I don't know how it got here, but this is, I think, 2 days after 9/11. Mm-hmm. This picture was taken.
Right.
But what I'm stressing on this is the weirdness of it.
Right. You're just looking at it and saying, on its face, this is what the anomalies are. The plastic, for instance. I mean, if the door were closed.
Yeah, it's very, if the door is open or closed, it's still, pretty weird. But one thing to notice is, don't these doors have rubber gaskets around them? Mm. And just take that as a piece of, a thought, piece of data.
Right.
And now we're going to look at the other side. This is why I call it the wax spot car.
Mm-hmm.
It is an enlargement of the area on the back door, by the back door. It actually isn't totally pristine, but something weird happened to it. It almost looks like somebody masking out a circular spot in the darkroom.
Yeah.
With a contact exposure. That was an aha moment for me. How can you get something like that happening?
Burning like that.
That's not
circular.
a fire that does that. Fire doesn't have, black and white with an abrupt line. 1 nanometer to the left, it's totally burnt, and 1 nanometer to the right, it's pristine. Fire is black, white, and shades of gray in between. This has an abrupt line. And I see that in cases of interference, where you have different fields of something interfering, where if one or the other isn't going to do it, but the interference causes such abrupt lines. Also, notice the gas tank probably looks in pretty good shape, and the back tire still looks good. If you have a fire, a rip-roaring fire, why isn't the gas tank burnt? Another thing we'll notice is the trunk lid popped. Is this a pattern? We're not looking for answers yet. We're just taking in the data. Door handles and trunk lids, like whatever mechanism that holds it, seems to fail pretty easily. So that's interesting. Now we're going to look. Those were over in this area, but we also found toasted cars along there, and then the toasted car park. And the South Street Seaport is where that first responder witnessed a car going to spontaneous combustion.
And we're looking at an overhead map of Manhattan, of the tip of Manhattan.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
And the most bizarre thing I'd like to point out here is this little ambulance going across the Manhattan Bridge. The first responders in there said you could feel the heat from the bridge. And they're on the Manhattan Bridge. And that's like 3/4 of a mile away.
You could feel heat.
You could feel the heat from the bridge. That's not conventional heat.
No.
The paper next to the buildings wasn't even burnt. What were they sensing?
Great point. Wow.
And so now we're going to look at, I call this the swamp. This is a picture looking down West Broadway. Building 7 is here in the distance. So we know it isn't too late in the day because that side of the building doesn't have stuff pouring out of it. This is that face that had, that the fumes and lather pouring around in a spiral.
Right.
And here we've got a toasted bus. And one thing to notice is where are the burnt marks on that bus? You see any scorch marks where flames could have been coming out?
It looks like near the wheel wells and the corners.
It's a little bit discolored there, but it's not any abrupt line.
The engine?
The whole thing. I don't see any scorch marks myself.
No scorch marks, right? But yeah.
Where a flame is going. I just see, the wheels are, down to the ground.
Right.
No rubber tires left.
Oh, that's right.
There's plastic back in.
Huh.
It's the tires are gone. And this is still fairly early in the afternoon, or no later than, like I'd say, 3:00 in the afternoon. Could even be noon. But you got a lot of, it's like a swamp here. But something else to notice is this car already shows signs of rust.
That's right. Okay.
It's really fast.
Stay right there, ladies and gentlemen. And also just keep in mind, if you want to see the rest of the presentation, we're going to continue on right after this show on AFR, so you can join us on the live stream. But we'll be back with Dr. Judy Wood, and we are curious about all this information we're seeing. Don't go away.
Do you experience anxiety on a daily basis? Do you struggle to complete tasks, feel nervous in social settings, or are you losing sleep because of anxiety?
How you liking it so far?
What's that?
How's it going so far?
Oh, I absolutely love it. Somebody, hold on just one second, Dr. Judy. I'm getting a message.
Okay.
Susanna Cole?
Yes, I'm here.
Is Alley Cat in?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
He had a really hard time. He just was able to get in. So.
How come?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, too much drama, he says. Yeah, I know how you feel. Dr. Judy, I just need to address all of our loyal people that are in the chat room, and they're having a tough time. I don't want to consume any airtime on the show, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
But I'm going to tell everyone on the stream and in the chat room, we will not, and I say we as a community, all right, are not going to be deterred by what they're doing to me right now. I'm going to flat out tell you that I have been under attack. 1,000% certain that I have been attacked by individuals who have gotten onto my YouTube page, and they've exploited the opportunities to, I guess, consider my material, which is on AM radio, to be objectionable. But the same exact broadcast goes on YouTube, and YouTube finds it appropriate enough for them to disconnect me. And that's a method of censorship of what I talk about here on the show. In addition to that, my site has been attacked, and it just so happened to occur on the day that Dr. Judy comes to the show. So, you know, I thank her very much for bringing that much attention to the Pete Santilli show, and I proudly will take any amount of heat, and that's why I'm not even flustered by it. We just deal with it as it comes, but we shall not let this stand. Ladies and gentlemen, I need your support at this time, and I'm not just begging you for sympathy. I need your awareness, and I need you to tell as many people as possible as to what's happening here, factually, not my opinion about what's happening. Factually, my YouTube account with years and years of work has been shut down, absolutely boxed out. Yeah, my site is being attacked. My YouTube account is being shut down. Why? Because they do not want you to have this information. We need to fight on. We need to fight on. So, yeah, and I didn't want to take up showtime to go through that.
That's fine.
Okay. And when we come back...
when folks complain about, you know, that I need to do this better and that you do that better and whatever needs to be done better, and you know, you'd make a better case if you did this. You can make a better case. Wait a minute, what's this about? Do you want to know the information or not? You know.
That's right.
And there's somebody who'd emailed me earlier today who, you know, what is the objective? Is it to find out what happened or to cover up what happened? And disconnecting somebody's website or YouTube is, you know, if the information is bad, just walk away. You know, there's no need to shut it down so other people can't see it.
Yeah.
We all need to make our own decisions.
That's right. But we have so many people fighting to make the decisions for us.
Right. And you wonder why they're doing that.
There's only one person that should be making your decisions, and you're always outnumbered by those that try to do it for you.
Mm-hmm. When somebody starts telling me what my thoughts are, it's time to leave.
Right.
I do like that comment that someone made. When you find yourself on the garden path, leave the garden.
Leave the garden.
That's right.
Yeah.
On American
Here we go.
Freedom
5 seconds.
.com. The truth has just gotten hotter.
Yes. These songs are so appropriate at each stage of this presentation that we're going through with Dr. Judy Wood. Molotov is the appropriate term in the No Messiah song, and we're looking at a bus that has no scorch marks. And that's that song right at that point. He says Molotov. Anyways, Dr. Judy, welcome back. Let's carry on.
Thank you. It's very toasty. Now we're going to watch a video of a volunteer who's helping that night, being interviewed by Diane Sawyer. I refer to the West Broadway as the swamp.
Tour buses, melted cars.
The cars that were right down there, it was just unbelievable. They were twisted and melted into nothing. The debris is just unbelievable. And then you can see fire trucks and police vehicles that were down there early that all their windows, the windshields are completely blown out must have been from when debris dropped.
But even more jarring, I think, is this scene right here. Look at these two cars placed on top of one another. I think when you when you think about the impact that these planes must have had, it's hard to visualize it because everything melted. But here, at least you have some remnants. You have literally an engine that is melded together with other parts of the car. Moving over, you've got another car they moved here. It looks like it's been through a war. You can see the papers, all the burned out papers from the building. You see the soot and the dirt, and it just shows you how devastating this blast was. Look across the street there. You've got a Con Ed truck that, you know, some of the Con Ed people now looking at, examining, trying to figure out which truck that actually was. But that truck, too, in terrible shape. So while many of the items, the steel, was literally melted.
People who have been right down next to the base of what was the trade towers say there's virtually nothing left. Maybe a few flights of stairs, a few stories of one of the buildings, but that when they came down, there was so much melting and so much demolishing of any kind of structure that they cannot imagine much being left or much hope of finding anybody alive.
Isn't that amazing? And the guy before then, a reporter trying to explain what happened, talked about the burned out papers. Yeah, he's doing the best he can, but he can't explain what he's seeing because he doesn't have any experience of what, you know, this is something he's never seen before.
Right.
Yeah, and there's virtually nothing left except a staircase or two. So we have evidence, you know, from that day that there's not much left. Now, there's some other interesting things with cars.
Flipped cars, yeah.
When they're flipped, they're not toasted usually, or not toasted much. That car on the top, it looks, you know, like a new car, essentially, except it's upside down. What made the car go upside down?
And the tires are not burnt. I noticed that, and most of the other toasted cars have melted or burnt tires.
Right. Mm-hmm. This is just upside down. And you notice the leaves on the trees in the background, or, you know, the trees are still intact. They didn't get blown over. It wasn't some humongous wind. So it's just another characteristic. Now, there's also, we're going to see a video on West Broadway.
All the glass is missing in these burnt vehicles that we're looking at.
And door handles.
Just so odd. Our brains are not used to seeing this.
3, 2. Oh, man. More debris falling from a nearby building, the World Trade Center. We're at West Broadway and Barclay. Very difficult to breathe here, but look around. This must have been ground zero where this thing blew up. Car after car after car. Buses. Completely obliterated and burned straight down to the
all the door handles missing. Just blown. Wow, look at that.
Behind me.
Well, so all window glass missing door handles, and toasted engines. And that's unmistakable. You can't change my mind about that. I just looked at it. I mean, everyone else did.
And it looks like somebody took a wire brush and cleaned out the lip that the windshield sits in. You know, burnt cars have usually scraps left in the corners where the seal is for the glass windows.
Right. Wow.
And here's a picture from West Broadway. And the upper left corner, you see a mail truck kind of slumped over. And we won't talk about what's in the foreground there, in that picture. On the top right-hand picture, you see the toasted bus. You see a vehicle just left in the street with the sliding, it's a minivan with the sliding door open. In the foreground, you see a vehicle missing door handles, but also missing every scrap of glass around the windshield. And the bottom two pictures, you have SUVs missing engine covers, and something looks to have happened with your engine. And that one in the bottom left, it's an abrupt difference between the front of the car and the driver's door.
Again, second time
totally
we've seen that anomaly. And that vehicle was not moved. It looks like it was burnt right there, and it stops abruptly at that seam.
And in that bottom left-hand image, that SUV is right in the middle of the street. I don't know if they opened the door and bailed out, and ran, which is, would be likely, because if you were there and there's dust clouds rolling down the road coming towards you, that big wall,
right,
and you're stuck in traffic, I'd bail. I'd get out of the car and run. And so I'm guessing that may be what happened.
Dr. Judy, can I ask you a question? I just have to ask this question because it's remarkable. I've never looked at the frame area. I mean, what would cause that frame area where the window was to be that clean, those edges to be that clean like that?
Yeah, it does look like it was like a sandblasted for a new paint job. Not any scrap of window seal.
So you don't even talk about how it could have gotten that way. It's just that it is, and it's remarkable.
Yeah, you're just taking in the evidence.
That's right. Okay, good. That's fair.
Instead of trying to force it into a cubby hole.
That's exactly what
you don't get to do that until you collect all the data.
Right, that's right.
Here we're going to compare it to burnt cars. Because a lot of my detractors say, oh, it's just a regular burnt car. Well, notice these rings you get from the burn marks in the burnt cars. And notice you have a transition zone of, black, white, and shades of gray. And, here it's orange in between at the top. Now, the blue box in the lower left is from the WTC, but the other ones are burnt cars. But notice in the burnt cars, you have the scraps left at the corners of the windshield.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And the car in the bottom right-hand corner, notice above the wheel well, you have, a partial burnt area. That car isn't as affected as some of the other ones, but you do have a transition zone between the burnt areas and the not burnt areas.
Always, on all these pictures, yeah.
But you don't have that with the toasted cars. Notice that one, toasted as in WTC, and the bottom left-hand corner image, notice how it's uniform, the coloring is of the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was not wire brush, but sandblasted for new paint job.
Right. And almost rusted.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And more burnt car pictures. The bottom two are from the WTC. And you can see the top, the burnt cars from fires have still remnants of the stuffing left in there. Most of the stuff's burnt, but you have pieces of something left. And you have transition zones. You can tell that top right-hand picture is of a blue car. And you can see it's a black area where it was, burnt. And the tires are still there. Sometimes the tires might get affected. But in the bottom left-hand corner, that's the inside of the wax spot car. I think the air tank and the other thing, and there was just trash somebody threw in there. But notice there's nothing left in there. Yeah, all the fittings for the doors, the handles and so forth, they're gone.
Dr. Judy, this is an observation question. Normally, when a vehicle burns, how long does it take for the surface of the metal to turn to rust?
I don't know.
Oh.
It depends. It depends on how hot it burned, how long it burned. There's a whole lot of other questions in it.
Sure.
But one thing we do know is car steel is made to be more environmentally resistant, except for Japanese steel in the 70s. It rusted a lot. Mm-hmm. But you take cars in the Northeast who, people are driving around in the salted roads in the winters, and they don't instantly rust.
That's
and
right.
After a while, they get the cancer going, but it isn't like instant rust in 5 minutes.
There we go. Now we have an overhead shot of it's a diagram, and we're actually circled in on the toasted car park, correct?
Right. And it's northwest of the World Trade Center complex. And it's across that intersection where we saw those guys who were, in awe of the building disappearing. I call it the Twilight Zone picture. But
Right.
We're going to look at camera views looking southeast at the car park. And these, we can all determine were not towed anywhere. There they are while they're being toasted. Notice all the unburned paper around.
Yes. Wow.
And there they are while they're being toasted. And the bottom left-hand image, the arrow shows you the viewing angle. That's before they're toasted. And look, you can see how far they are from the tower.
This is from Breeze. Is it Ken and Bree, the ones that took the...
Bob and Bree? No, it's one of their neighbors.
Oh, one of the neighbors. Okay.
And it's wonderful image.
From that same angle, yeah.
Yep. And here's a close-up shot. Now, one thing I've noticed here, this is car. We'll see another view of it.
And we're now looking down. They have all the fire trucks in that area, and this is before the towers had come down, obviously. There's no dust anywhere.
Right.
Okay.
And this next image shows the people evacuating from the Embassy Suites Hotel. And you see that that car park. And you see this vehicle out here in the driving area.
A black SUV. It looks like a van, a minivan. Sure.
Or a car or something, this black one. I didn't realize it was a black car until I found these before pictures. I thought it was a white car. You'll see why. This is after it was toasted.
Unbelievable.
And so we saw these vehicles. There's that toasted car out there in the parking area. I mean, what do you call it? The driveway or
yes,
one of the aisles?
Look at the dirt. It went from pavement to dirt, correct?
Oh, no, this wasn't paved. This is just a car park, a gravel parking lot.
Okay.
But we saw these vehicles in the same positions before and after and during being toasted. So I think that's pretty clear where they were toasted.
Yeah, Dr. Judy, I've gotten into arguments with people about these vehicles actually being transported here.
Does this pretty much cover it?
That covers it. That solidifies it. And I've wasted hours arguing with trolls.
This is the car. This is one I don't state if something is or isn't towed unless I know, for sure. These I know for sure. I certainly believe. You can see even the plants around here are kind of burnt or toasted or something. They got affected by what was going on with the cars.
That's right.
Yeah, weird fires. Remember, hot things glow, but not everything that glows is hot.
Yes, ma'am.
That's important. Now, for comparison, think of a fluorescent light and an incandescent light. One of them's hot, one of them's not. They glow for different reasons. The incandescent light is hot and glows. I don't know how to kill that.
You should answer. Put them on the air. You're live on the Pete Santilli Show. What's going on?
That's a, what do you call it, a junk mail thing. Well, we'll try to ignore it.
That's okay. So hot things...
Sorry, I should have pulled the plug on
That's okay. Hot things glow, but not everything that glows is hot. Probably one of the most important things I've learned through this whole experience.
And there's West Broadway, shown on the map. That's often referred to as the swamp. That's where the toasted bus was.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And here's a close-up shot of this. Now, as firefighter Patrick Connolly, during the demise of one of the buildings, went into that door of Building 7.
Mm-hmm.
This is the side of Building 7.
Right.
And he may have been the one that even left the door open when he came back out. He didn't like the looks of it in there. It didn't seem safe. So he came out. And notice the order of this. This is important. He went in there during the demise of the tower. He came out. Now everything was pitch black because the dust went up and blocked out 100% of the sunlight for a short period of time. He couldn't see his hand in front of his face. And then he said, thank goodness the car lit up. The car in front of him lit up because then he could see where he was. So the car did not light up during the demise of the tower, but right after. And then he started walking up the street, up West Broadway, and cars were lighting up as he passed them. Here's a map of where he went. Now notice, see those arrows?
Yes. Going down West Broadway, basically away from the tower demise. Yes.
Yeah. Are you going to tell me that those cars lit up because of debris hitting them? And there's no debris on the roofs of the adjacent buildings.
None. Look at that.
And if it was, burning debris that fell down there and caught the cars on fire, why did it only hit the cars and no paper, no buildings, no trees? And why just down the canyon? And he came up to intersection C here and then turned and that's Park Place, and then turned over. And we'll see a image from Park Place, some cars that he saw toasting as he passed there.
And my brain keeps asking why, but we're not going to ask that question. Keep going.
Right, we're just noticing.
That's right.
And then, until the picture comes forward. And here's the firefighters. They're concerned. You know, like, ho-hum, you know, do, just kind of, they're not worried about a car exploding.
That's right. Stay right there. We're going to come back after this break with Dr. Judy Wood.
Are chemtrail geoengineering programs changing our weather and destroying our environment? Why?
Wow. Yeah. My natural tendency, along with everybody else, is our brains are trying to say, okay, well, this is happening. This is very, very odd. Well, here are the possible reasons why my brain could ever think of it happening this way, you know?
Right. That's, I guess, one of the differences between me and most people is to be able to resist that and set it aside, because, this is a psychological operation. There's no two ways around that. And if it's a psychological operation, wouldn't it be, if people have that tendency to jump to conclusions, just leave them a breadcrumb trail to follow, and then you're done for the cover-up.
And you just wait for their brains to start unraveling.
To take the bait. Like that's what magic shows are.
Yeah.
They lead you to make a certain conclusion. And so if you don't make a conclusion and just keep looking at the data, at the evidence will tell you what happened. But it's sitting and listening is the most challenging part, and resisting the temptation to run with something. Looking at this particular image on the right after the video is played, you see these firefighters weren't really concerned about these car fires, or the apparent car fires. Like, what the heck is going on with those? It looks like stuff on the ground, but it isn't catching the paper on fire.
Unbelievable.
And sometimes you see, different, this orange stuff. I've come to call it Cheeto fires.
Yeah.
I don't want to call it fires because that sounds like it is something. You have to differentiate it. And Cheetos, those orange snack foods.
Mm-hmm.
In the UK, they call them Whatsits. So it's part of the translation there. But this one original image, we'll see it soon, that Stephen Jones used to use a lot and say, you see this, hot glowing or molten metal as an orange thing in the ground. It looks like a Cheeto. So ever since then, I've been calling all these things, Cheetos. Little orange things on the ground. What are they?
The orange things on the ground. And not, most car fires are really thick, black, billowy smoke, always.
Yeah, the ones on the left, it just is orange glow and stuff.
I've seen a lot of car fires on the freeways here in Southern California. Always very, very thick, black, billowy smoke.
And these, probably the tires going too, but look at this orange stuff right here where the mouse is on the left-hand picture.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the smoke coming off of that?
None.
I don't, smoke coming up.
No smoke, yeah.
And of course the paper isn't burning. So these things are down in that canyon, between the big buildings. How are they catching fire? Is something, being dropped on them from, it just makes no sense. There's something that's going on in the atmosphere, in the environment.
Yeah. Yeah. When we come back, Dr. Judy, just remember that at the 55-minute mark, okay, we need to close out. So I want to take 5 minutes of recap, okay?
Okay.
5 minutes for you to recap, and then obviously we're going to continue the presentation after the top of the hour. I'll reset the recording, and we'll continue on with the presentation. But the 5 minutes, let's recap for our AM radio listening audience.
Okay.
You might want to let the radio listeners know that they can come to finish hearing the rest of the presentation at the website.
Yes. Oh, well. Is the website up?
I hope so. People are having trouble getting in, but
yeah. And it's not, I didn't do that to you.
Right. I know how it goes.
Yeah.
She's used to this. She told you yesterday, after a while, you'll just get used to it.
Yeah, Dr. Judy.
What do you think about it?
Okay, here we go.
It's part of the maze.
Thursday from 3 to
5 seconds. 5 seconds.
On American Freedom Radio. Hard-hitting and in your face, America.
This is Mr. E, and you're listening to the Pete Santilli Show. Telling you the truth, whether you like it or not.
Yesterday, as this presentation progressed, I had goosebumps at certain stages. It is just overwhelming as we progress through this. But Dr. Judy, at no point in time in the past 2 days has she ever said, this is what you're looking at, and this is why it could have possibly happened this way. She's never said that. She just said, absorb all of the data. Just absorb it. Put it into your brain, and that's what we're doing. Continue on, Dr. Judy Wood.
Thanks. Yeah, put off making any conclusions, because if this is a psychological operation, you can guarantee that there's breadcrumbs that have been dribbled out to cause you to take a certain path. And you don't want to go there. You just want to take in the images. And the one on the left, particularly here, we just played the video on the right, but the one on the left, notice the unburned paper. This is down that canyon between the buildings. Why isn't the paper on fire? Why are just the cars look like they're on fire? I don't want to make an assumption. Weird fires coming out of them, the vehicles. But
the assumption is, and from looking at it, is whatever caused these vehicles to start combusting did not have the same effect on the paper.
Right. There's something that's specific of the cars.
Right.
And didn't get the trees, it didn't get the buildings, it didn't get you can see a phone booth here right on the left side of that picture. And it didn't get the signposts, or there's even pictures of the traffic lights that are still working.
Mm-hmm.
And it ends up being a pattern to it. Now, here's another interesting set of things. This is an image from around Church Street, the one on the left here, where you see something glowing. And then you see these things that look like orange Cheetos. If you live in the UK, they're called Whatsits. But I use names. You aren't going to be confusing that with any kind of piece of metal. But just to emphasize some anomaly, like these little orange glowing things on the ground. They look like Cheetos.
I see orange glowing things right next to paper. That's what I observe.
Right. Or even sitting on paper, and the paper's not burning. You also don't see smoke coming off of this stuff, this glowing stuff here.
That's indisputable, yeah.
And if this is molten metal, it would be a puddle. How could it be, not flat, not horizontal?
That's right. Wow.
And there's even more interesting things too. Like you get this over in the right-hand image, this plastic trash can, and you have this plastic igloo cooler that aren't melted. And something that is white hot, that's it's like 1,200 degrees. Well, we have actually a chart that shows that. So 1,200 degrees centigrade for white hot. And a lot of the truthers have said there's evidence of molten metal, but we haven't determined that it's hot. Perhaps it's metal, perhaps it's liquid, but it's not hot. And this is the picture right here. See, this looks like old Cheeto. That's the Cheeto Puffs. That's the first one I started calling Cheetos.
Right. And that's the one, just to let everyone know on the audio side, this is the one with the grappler picking up the hot, as they say. Hot?
Or the glowing thing.
Did I say hot? Yes, I'm sorry. The glowing red stuff with the Cheeto next to it. Yes.
And if this thing had been digging down in and to pull up something, certainly these jaws would have heated up, and from thermal conductivity, this would be hotter than 82 degrees centigrade. And 82 degrees centigrade, the hydraulic cylinder, there's at above 82 degrees centigrade, there's permanent damage to these things.
Mm-hmm.
So how could that be very hot to have, hydraulics digging down into, something?
Mm-hmm.
There's something else going on there.
Right.
There were no reports of malfunctioning equipment and destroyed equipment because it was too hot. Now, aluminum melts at 660 degrees centigrade. Aluminum alloy is slightly lower. So if aluminum is glowing, it's a puddle. If it's white hot, if aluminum is white hot, it's got to be a puddle, right?
Right.
Because blood red is the color just as it melts. So if it's white hot, it's going to be a puddle. And
I think we went backwards on that one.
Mm-hmm. And see this corner here.
Right. Corner of the steel beam?
No, that's aluminum cladding.
Oh, it is. Oh, that's right. It is. Mm-hmm.
It's aluminum cladding, and it looks like the end of that is glowing. Houston, we have a problem. That can't be glowing because it's hot. Here's the temperature chart again. And then maybe I did go backwards. Here we go with the blow up of that end of that beam. See that boxed in zone, the end of that aluminum cladding. So if it's aluminum alloy, it could melt at 650 centigrade, but it's not going to be melting at above 1200. Remember, it's about 1200 degrees centigrade is white hot. And here's a blow up of that aluminum cladding end. Could that be glowing? If it's glowing, we've got something else going on here. Much less this, the paper and the Cheetos over here. This is something.
We have the videotapes. The firefighters reporting molten metal like a slurry or a steel mill or a volcano. Those are quotes. Giant pools.
What about the pictures of them dragging oxygen hoses all over the steaming supposed hot metal? If it were that hot, you wouldn't dare do that, would you?
Well, we do have the infrared photos of the molten metal.
Well, again, what melted the metal? Was it heat?
That's a very good question. It's also one of the first times I've heard Alex Jones speechless. But is it heat?
This is actually the first time I've listened to Alex Jones and didn't have commentary. Go ahead.
And Jesse Ventura is the one who was speaking back. He's read the book.
Yep.
And he was noting in this picture that was from the book, you have this oxygen fuel hose draped across the ground with these guys at the end with a cutting torch. Would you stay at the end of a long hose that's draped over, oxygen hose draped over, hot molten metal? That's what he said. You wouldn't dare do that now, would you?
One other anomaly that I noticed is the bent steel beam in the background.
Don't know where.
There's a square one. It looks like a steel column that is just bent over. That looks odd to me. You see that square cutting?
There's this on the left-hand picture or the right?
Yeah, left-hand picture. It's under the .com. There's a square column. It looks like square steel column just.
Up here. Some things are in weird shapes.
Yeah.
And so forth.
Yeah.
But this haze over here is not steam from being hot because these guys would look like a grilled cheese sandwich. I mean, you don't walk across a grill. It's that hot.
Dr. Judy, what we're going to do here in the remaining moments, let's recap for our AM listeners on American Freedom Radio. And ladies and gentlemen, you can join us at thePeteSantilliShow.com. Join us in the chat room. If you come into the chat room, we'll give you all the instructions to listen to the stream and so on. But if you can get to our chat room, thePeteSantilliShow.com, we will be continuing with this presentation. But Dr. Judy, if you can also please come back to the show at a later date to cover some additional information. You've done a great job in these 2 days, and I want to thank you on behalf of all of the American Freedom Radio Network listeners. But thank you. If you could just recap here, and then we're going to continue on after the top of the hour with your presentation.
Thanks. Well, thank you so much for allowing this information to be put out. It's vital information, and I don't want people to believe me. I want them to believe themselves, and so that's why I present the data for them to see for themselves. Now, recapping the basics here that we've covered is the buildings did not burn up, nor did they slam to the ground, but they turned into dust in midair, and we know that because if they slammed to the ground, you'd have a pile of debris left over. If they slammed to the ground, it destroyed the bathtub. It was sort of like a dike that kept out the Hudson River because the towers were built in the Hudson River. And if they slammed the ground, the seismic signal would have shown it, which it didn't. And there's a whole bunch of other things, toasted cars, dustification, a whole host of various anomalies. And then after, in the after show, I will be presenting what known technologies produce these same phenomena.
Outstanding. Yeah. Thank you so much. Now, one last question I have for you. All of this evidence that you've been fighting to, I guess in the public record, you've also been attempting to correct the information that's been put into the formal public record. And you fought for that in the court system. You're still fighting to this day to get everyone to recognize a correction to what they've been told for the past 10 years plus.
Right. I feel like my position now is in educating people and also educating them how to think for themselves instead of believe what you're told, but to sit back and know what you know that you know and be sure about that, and then know that everything else you don't know, and don't mix the two.
Now, of course, we can help you by getting a copy of the textbook, Where Did the Towers Go? And help support your efforts. So we can visit your website at drjudywood.com. Visit her website, see some of those visual images, some of the videos that we've presented here, and of course, you'll get a copy of this entire presentation. And ladies and gentlemen, do not go away, because we will be taking. We're just going to take just a couple minutes break. Of course, Dr. Judy is she has the ultimate stamina of just about anybody I've ever seen as far as work ethic. But we're going to take a brief break here over the top of the hour. We're going to come back, complete the presentation, and you can also see a copy of this entire 2-day presentation by going to thepetesantillishow.com. We will have our website up here and running. They're working on it fervorously. Is it fervorous? No. Fervorous? That's not the appropriate word. Vigorously. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. Dr. Judy, thank you, and we will have you back here momentarily.
Alrighty, thanks so much, you guys.
Hey, thank you very much, Daniel. Okay.
Thanks, Daniel.
Yes.
And let me cut this off here. Hold on, Dr. Judy. If you want to, do you want to take a health break real quick? Get some water, and then we'll reconvene. And then let's reconnect on Skype. They're going to be disconnecting us on AFR.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. You guys have a great day.
So we'll recommence here in 4 minutes, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Daniel.
Have a good one.
Here we go.
Okay, are we taking a short break?
We are. Dr. Judy, you still there?
Yep.
Okay. Do you need a quick break, and then we'll get restarted?
Okay.
Okay.
I need to walk around just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna run to the boys' room real quick, and then we'll come back.
All
okay.
Right, I'm gonna get some water. I'll see you guys in a minute. Be right back.
See ya.
Dr. Judy. Susanna Cole. Susanna Cole? Or Dr. Judy? Anyone there? Okay. You know what? Susanna Cole, are you there?
Turn back.
Okay, here we are. Let me just take care of something real quick. All right. Okay, there it is. Is that Miss Ginge? Whose dog? Susanna Cole, are you there? Dr. Judy, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Do you have a dog?
Me? No. I've got 2 feline American dependents.
I'm sorry, I missed that. What was that?
I have 2 feline American dependents.
Ah.
They think they're dogs.
Okay, guys, back?
Yep.
Is Pete back yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
The site's about to go down. They're telling me that they have to move my server because of a sophisticated attack. Or
nice.
Pull it from the server. Yeah.
Jeez.
So,
So has your site ever been attacked, Dr. Judy?
Yeah, but I originally had on this freebie thing until Andrew, bless him his heart, he provided me with web space. But it used to be this freebie site, and it got worse and worse. And people who had Internet Explorer could not view my website. It was weird. Some other things happened, but it gets taken down every once in a while. But I think they don't want to draw too much attention to it.
That's right. And when I hear you laugh when you say that, it just it inspires me. It's just not even sweating. Keep surging on.
Yeah.
Huh? Unbelievable. You are incredible. Yeah. I could have been complaining the past 24 hours, but no, I'm not going to.
No, it's like it's actually a badge of honor. You know, it says that you're making progress.
That is so awesome. Susanna, you there?
I am.
Did you hear that?
I did.
If they can't ignore you,
it's a bad.
Right. If they can't ignore you, then they got to go to plan B.
They can't ignore you. Oh, hold on one second, Doctor.
But that also goes for all the various trolls who like to denigrate my work. That why are they doing that? What are they what's the objective other than they're afraid